afternoon, everyone. It's certainly a pleasure to be here. It was the Jets, the Cardinals, and the Cincinnati Bengals, otherwise known as the Bermuda Triangle of the NFL. So I have a very unique take on things in the world. And I, too, am a defender of Wall Street, by the way. I just want you to know that. And the reason I say that is because I know why we're all here. Our foundation has raised over $80 million for cystic fibrosis, and the bulk of that has come from Wall Street because a lot of my friends work down there, and they're some of the most philanthropic people that I could ever imagine. So when I leave the Bermuda Triangle of the NFL and enter the Bermuda Triangle of the world that I live in now, which includes a morning radio show with a great partner, Craig Carton, after we took over for Imus in the morning after he got fired, and now we're #1 in the greater New York area, you know, I know a few things about success and what works. And what works is a commitment to showing up and being there and being the guy of your word. Like looking in somebody's eyes and shaking their hand as opposed to sending them a text message or an email. Now, I know you're all CIO types. I read your magazines. Very exciting. Very exciting. I love the pictures, too. Really nice, good-looking stuff. But here's the deal. You know, in the real world, what really works is when you shake somebody's hands and you look in the soul of their eyes and you can see who they are. And they'll tell you who they are when they look back at you and whether or not it works. And for me, getting to where I am is all about that. It's not about the text message. It's not about the email, unless I'm talking to my 17-year-old daughter, because that's the only way she communicates. The line is that life is, you're confronted with failure somewhere along the line. And how do you react to that failure is going to depend on whether or not you're going to be successful. And I know that everyone in this room works hard to be successful. Nobody's giving you anything. We're all here because we're milling around. We want to try to find the next deal. We want to try to find the next person that's going to help us get to the next level, because we all believe in the American spirit. And the American spirit is you work hard, what happens? You live the good life, but you have to work hard for that. That's why I get up at 4:15 every single morning. That's why I'm up here now, 12 hours later, talking to you guys, because I believe in the American spirit. And that's exactly why we're all here. In 1993, when I was traded to the New York Jets, I thought it was going to be the greatest thing in my life. I got here, I found out my son was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis. And at that time, I wasn't really sure what to do. I didn't know whether or not to retire and just focus on him, or whether to take on a new chapter in my life and see if I can do something about it. And lo and behold, some 17 years later, my son now is 19 years old. He just finished his freshman year at Boston College. And you know that 30 years ago, they would have told people in my situation that your child would not live past the age of 16. And now my son is living, breathing proof that you can overcome something that many people thought was unattainable. And I feel very, very good about the fact that my son is living, breathing proof that you can overcome just about anything. And every day he has to fight, and every day we're right there by his side. So thank you. I was in the last year of my career. I was 37 years old. And we had a third-year player who was one of the most talented wide receivers in football. But he couldn't have been any more opposite than I was. I'm from Long Island. I'm a white guy. I've been in the NFL for 14 years. I've seen it all. I've heard it all. I don't want to hear it anymore. And here is this African-American wide receiver who's from East St. Louis, who's just happy to be out of there and making money, and making really good money. So we go in to play the Indianapolis Colts in Indianapolis, and I was the backup quarterback the last year of my career at this time. The kid in front of me gets hurt, so I'm going to go in and play the game. But prior to this game, this wide receiver had missed meetings, and he missed a few practices, and the coach had to make a decision as to whether or not to play him. So they decided that they were going to dress him, but they weren't going to play him, that would be embarrassment enough and that would be torture enough for him, that maybe that would wake him up and that he would be better as the season went on. So sure enough, he's pouting on the sideline, and I'm trying to talk to him. Don't worry about it. You'll be okay. We'll get through all this, blah, 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 blah. He doesn't want to hear any of it. As a matter of fact, he doesn't want anything to do with me, because he thinks I'm, part of the administration of the Cincinnati Bengals, just trying to get to him to make him understand that, we need you to play here. So sure enough, the guy in front of me gets hurt. I go in to play the second half. And one of our receivers gets hurt, and with third down and about 15, with about 2 minutes to go in the game, we have taken the lead, but we need to further the ball down the field to get a first down to keep the ball away from Peyton Manning. So sure enough, This guy has been pouting and sitting on the sideline literally for over 2.5 hours of the football game, gets thrown into the mix. They send in the play, and the play is directly for him. So now this is where communication really comes into play, and how important it is to look a man in his eyes to make sure that he knows exactly what you want him to do and what you're going to deliver for him. So I looked into his eyes and I said, Darnay, I said, this play is for you, and I need you to make this play. If I throw the ball to you, can I count on you to make this catch? And he says, I don't know. I said, I don't need to hear, I don't know. Listen, if you make this catch, I'll buy you a Mercedes-Benz tomorrow. Will you actually make the catch? He goes, I'll make the catch. Don't worry about it. So sure enough, we snap the ball. I throw the ball down the field. Darnay makes a one-hand circus catch. It was one of the best catches that I had seen that season. And as he's running off the field, he's yelling at me, you owe me a Mercedes, you owe me a Mercedes. So I want to be a man of my word, right? So the next day, I get up. We have a meeting that morning, and he's expecting the keys to a Mercedes. And most NFL quarterbacks could pull something like this off, and I knew that I was going to be put in a really difficult situation. So I went to Toys R Us, and I got one of those little Mercedes cars. And it was an electric car. So I had the electric car in the locker room, and when he came out of the meeting, I had the thing drive right up and hit him in the leg. And I threw him the device. I said, there's your Mercedes, my man. But the bottom line of the story is that after that moment, after he understood that he and I were on the same team, that I wasn't the bad guy in the issue here, he went on to have a great final 4 games of the season. I was his quarterback. He signed a $25 million contract right after that season as a free agent for the Cincinnati Bengals, and he made a $50,000 donation to cystic fibrosis.
Yes. You seem like an impressive guy, but you're not that big. How do you get hit?
Wait a minute, time out. You're calling me not that big? Why don't you stand up? Okay.
How do you get hit by defensive linemen and then get up after that?
Well, when I played, the game was completely different. They actually were allowed to hit the quarterback. Nowadays, they can't touch those guys because they're all making $15 to $20 million a year, and I believe in that. I mean, people want to see the stars playing, but back when I was on the field with Montana and Sims and all the great quarterbacks of my era, Jim Kelly, Dan Marino, John Elway, those guys, I mean, they beat the hell out of us. And I have scars to show you, but I really don't think it's appropriate right now.
Yeah. Great morning show. I listen to you every day. You make the drive great. Want to know 2 things. Best thing and worst thing about doing that show, either the early hours or Craig or whatever.
I tell you, the worst thing about it is my whole life is turned upside down. I try to get to bed at 8 o'clock every night, almost impossible. And I'm up at 4:15 every morning taking the drive on the Long Island Expressway. The good thing about that is that nobody else is on the road with me except the lunatics that are going in and out and trying to drive 110 miles an hour. And the best thing about it is that people in New York who knew me didn't know me the way they know me now. And for 3 years, every morning now they're a part of your life. And it's the best part of it. It's really, talking about all the things that are going on in the sports world and everything else that's happening around here is a lot of fun.